Hi guys, it's Mandy here. So today I wanted to discuss with you the concept of fear, because this is something that has been going through my mind for many, many years, is this understanding that if you fear something, then it is paralyzing to you, and so you shouldn't allow fear to control you. Now, having spent many, many months watching all these pro, anti, transgender nonsense political agenda videos, I sort of came to the realization that a lot of these people are joining these groups because their belief stems out of fear. They are afraid of human judgment, basically. They're afraid of being judged as anti this and anti that, and if they don't join these groups, then they will be judged as an anti whatever. And so out of that fear, they choose to agree with and submit to and join these groups. And my understanding of fear has really changed the way I sort of see the world, because as someone who believes in God, my understanding of the Bible is that even your faith in God stems from fear, because it says in the Bible, fear the Lord. So every choice we make comes from a position of fear. If you choose to join a group, you do it because you fear that group's judgment on you. If you choose to elect someone, you do it out of fear because you think that if you don't put them in power, then something worse will happen. You fear a worse scenario. You do things or you don't do things based on a fear factor. So I'm going to ask you guys to sort of take a moment and really look into your heart and soul and ask yourselves, what do you truly fear? And I'm not talking about, oh, I'm scared of spiders. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, what is it that scares you about the judgment of your parents, the judgment of your friends, the judgment of your family, your peers at work, your peers at school, your teachers? What is it that you fear about these people? When you are terrified to ask them something, when you are terrified to voice an opinion, when you are afraid to put your foot down, and ask yourself those questions internally, and maybe write it down in a diary or something. But I just think it's something we need to really consider, is what are we truly completely and utterly afraid of when it comes to talking to other humans about what we truly believe in. Because if you are denying your actual truth, the truth, and you are agreeing with something because you just are afraid of the repercussions of that person saying you are an anti whatever, you need to sort of question whether or not you are following your true self. That is what the true self is. The true self is you admitting that you are afraid of something and owning up to that fear and saying, no, I'm not going to allow that fear to control me. I'm not going to join a group just because I fear somebody else's judgment. Because, like I said, the Bible says you have to fear God. But if you are so distracted from your fear of God that you would rather fear humans, then you are going to basically be grounded to the material world, not the spiritual world. So in a way, you could say that is Satan controlling you, because you choose to follow the material world through fear of that, rather than understand that your fear of God should be greater. So you should want to follow God through your fear of God and his judgment, rather than your fear of your neighbor thinking that you're a bit stupid for liking something that they don't like. That's basically what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm articulating it clearly. Let me know if you don't understand what I'm saying. But basically, I'm just saying every choice we make comes from a baseline of fear. Even down to Lucifer's choice to rebel against God himself. In the Bible, it says that Lucifer didn't like the fact that man was created above the angels, but a little below God. So basically, humanity was between the angels and God because we were created in his image. So basically, Lucifer was afraid of being lesser than. So he chose to rebel and take a lot of the angels who obviously were equally fearful of being lesser than. And he chose to say, well, I don't want to be lesser than a human, so I'm going to rebel and fight against God. And I want to be God because I want to be higher than a human. The only person who is higher than a human is God. And so I have to become God in order to be greater than a human. So if you think about it, even Lucifer himself made his choice out of fear. And it's basically the same with every dictator and tyrant on the planet. When you look at them, they are terrified of death, of poverty, of being lesser than, of people not listening to them. Basically, they're terrified of being anything other than a god. It's the same scenario. If humans are terrified of poverty, starvation, and being on the streets, then they will strive so hard to become rich, to have all the material items they could possibly imagine having that they think they need. So they will enslave themselves into a life of servitude, which is working in a job that they hate just to earn enough money to get the big house, get the fancy car that they've always dreamed of, be able to hire other people to serve them. In a sense, you basically want to become the higher up and have people underneath you who serve you. And basically that comes from a sense of fear. That's why people are afraid to say things like that, because they're afraid of being disowned. They're afraid of being yelled at. They're afraid of being attacked. But like I said, you've got to understand the truth of your belief, the real belief under the fear. The thing that your fear is preventing you from stating. So I just want you to consider that and maybe make steps towards facing your fears. And hopefully it will help you progress forward, because if you spend your entire life living in fear, nothing will happen to you. You won't grow, you won't develop, you won't change. People who spend their life in fear might as well be sat in front of a TV being a couch potato, because what's the point? What's the point of life? You might as well not exist, because your whole life is driven by fear. And yes, I'm saying that fear is good, but you have to understand what you should fear. You have to understand the things that are greater to fear and what is insignificant to fear. Fearing someone's temper is minuscule in comparison to, say, the judgment of the Lord. Fearing your parent throwing a temper tantrum because you don't want to take the job that they expect you to take, or maybe you want to break up with your partner but you're afraid of hurting them. Well, would you rather spend your entire life miserable and with the wrong person? Because that's all that's going to come of it. You're going to make yourself miserable, they're going to be miserable, but you're stuck together out of fear. But if you were to say, you know what, there is something greater for me to fear than the temporary pain of letting someone go. And then through that act of bravery, of letting that person go, you then find someone who works better for you and who you would be much happier spending the rest of your life with. So, I mean, I don't know if I'm making sense here, but like I said, I just want all of you to sort of take some time and really ponder what it is that you're afraid of. And I want you to really be honest with yourselves about that and say to yourself, well, if God's judgment is as terrible as it is, that I would end up in hell for not fearing that judgment, and I would rather be afraid of my parents or my partner or my neighbors or my peers or whatever it is. You just sort of need to really think about which of those two things is greater. So anyway, that's all I have to say for today, and I will see you in the next video.